Hey guys, welcome to the latest video. Today we're going to be walking through the Goal Getters Planner and how to take full advantage of it and how to set yourself up for an amazing quarter ahead. So we do things a little bit differently instead of following exact calendar dates for quarters and measuring time in that way. We actually go through what are called cycles, and I'll get into that in just a second. But it is a walkthrough of how to take the most advantage over the Goal Getters planner. So if you currently are working with me, or if you have recently been working with me, chances are you have already a physical copy of the Goal Getters planner. I mailed it to you. It should be in your hands. And for those of you who don't have a copy, you have two options to get a copy yourself. So first of all, I offer the digital download completely for free. You can print out the pages and walk through them on your own, or you can purchase the physical copy and have like the official full booklet. It's many pages long, so if you're going to print it out, make sure you have enough printer paper. So also it's really important to to recognize how are you going about this. I used to download as much free stuff as I could, like pages here from the Happy Planner, pages there from, Passion Planner. And kind of just like meld it all together because I wanted to save a couple of bucks. And the thing is, one, I wasted a lot of printer paper that way. And two, it just never felt, I don't know, it just never felt official. It never felt like I was really taking it seriously. It was just like I was willing to dabble with taking my own goals and dreams seriously. So if you feel the same way, if you're like, oh, I could save like, I think, what is it, like 29.99? I could save 30 bucks and just print the pages myself, go for it. If you're on a budget, if things are tight, do it. If you're like, no, I want to really take this seriously, like I don't want to be messing around here, then I encourage you to get the physical planner, like get it delivered to you in the mail. Both of the links to do whatever you want to do are in the description below, so feel free to proceed as you best see fit. Today is actually the week called a reset week. So what we're going to do, let me just jump in and share my screen here, and we will talk about how to use this planner. Okay, so this is the first page of the planner. I'm actually just going to scoot over to the page that has the cycles so that we can talk about timelines. So like I said in the beginning, how we don't, in this particular planner, we don't go with exact calendar dates. So you'll see that cycle one, Q1 in this planner didn't actually start on January 1st. It started January 6th. So what I've done is I've taken the weeks of 2025 and I've broken them into 4-week cycles and grouped those into their own quarters. So as of March 30th, we finished cycle 3. So each of these cycles is 4 weeks long. Today is April 4th. This is the end of the reset week. So essentially we have 3 cycles of 4 weeks each. So that's 12 weeks plus 1 reset week. And then Q2 here starts on Monday, April 7th. All of our cycles begin on a Monday. This is why we shifted away from like January 1st to December 31st. We're starting with the first Monday of each cycle instead of the calendar date. So if I say we're in a reset week, what I mean is that we have concluded the first quarter here and that we're using this week to reframe and prepare ourselves for Q2. Q2 will run from April 7th to June 29th. And then we'll have another reset week and prepare for Q3. So that's why I'm releasing this video today. We're getting toward the end of the reset week. It's a perfect time to start taking a look at where do I want my Q2 to head toward? Where do I want my life to be making progress? What direction do I want to be moving in and growing in? So Monday, April 7th, we kick off a brand new cycle. Every cycle is 4 weeks, like I mentioned. So let's head on back to the beginning. Now, when you get the Goal Getters Planner, the first 3 pages are all to do with vision. This is like if you had a magic lamp, if you had a magic wand, what would you love? Like pie in the sky. This is not so that you can accomplish this within the next 4 weeks. Typically, Your vision cannot be accomplished in 4 weeks. The purpose of the vision is to basically, it's kind of like you're calibrating a compass. This is the direction that I want to make progress toward every single day. I'm working toward this. This is my long-term, this is what I would really love to be working toward. So over the course of over these 3 pages of visioning, I give you 6 different prompts. So you're going to experience different senses of a desire to grow, a desire to change in different areas of your life. Some of them might be louder than others. So a lot of folks, when they come into my world, they want something to do with their vocation to be different. They want a different job. They want to switch industries. They want to start their own business. They want to leave their current job and they don't know what they want instead. All kinds of variety of those scenarios. And so one of the questions that I offer you is, in your vision, in your ideal, beautiful life, if I were to ask you, how much do I make? How much do you make a year in this dream life? How much are you making a year? And what are you doing for work? What's your career? Like, what are you doing? This is a space for you not to censor yourself. This is a space to not judge yourself. If you have been, let's say, a lawyer for your entire life and you're like, I really wish I could open a bakery, write down bakery, right? We're not looking to say like, oh, I would love to make partner at my firm. I would love to open my own firm. I would love to move into corporate law away from whatever, family law. Unless you really want it, don't put it on the page. You only put the stuff you really want in your life on these pages. Another prompt is, where do I live and what does my house look like? Sometimes we recognize that our home environment needs to change. We're ready for something new. We're ready for a refresh. We're ready for maybe a different geography or more space. If that's you, this prompt is for you. Page 2 of visioning is, what's a dream trip I'm going on in the next few years? That travel is something that can actually be a great facilitator for growth in terms of dreaming about travel, in terms of challenging yourself with allowing yourself to want to go somewhere or do something that's out of the box that you wouldn't actually normally be just comfortable booking a trip tomorrow doing. This is something where it's like, oh my gosh, I would love to go on a safari in Kenya one day and see a lion in the wild in real life and not just at my local zoo, but that might feel super uncomfortable for you. That might be really outside of your comfort zone. But if you're noticing, like, yeah, I would really love to do that, but I think if I were to actually do it, my friends would think I'm completely crazy. Note down those thoughts. If you're saying, I would really want this, but note what comes after the but part. Okay, so everything that we want belongs on these pages. Everything that starts to constrict or dilute or dampen our desire for those things, they belong on separate pages. Okay, any of the doubts, any of the fears that come up, any of the self-judgments or fear of judgment from other people, write it down so that it's out of your head so that you're not walking around with it, but don't put it on these pages. These pages are just for dreaming. The 4th prompt is, what's something special I can afford to do for myself and for others in the next few years? This is something that can be really motivating for people who not just want to generate income, but there's a real motivator behind why they want that income, what they want to do with that money. It's like, oh, I love the idea of taking all my girlfriends on a ladies' trip somewhere where we can just all reconnect because it's been so long since we've all been in the same place together. This is something like I want to take a friend of mine, one of his dreams was to leave his corporate investing job and take his mother on a world tour for 6 months. And they just travel together as a thank you for everything that she's done for him over the years growing up. So start to tap into this. Is there anything like that for you in this space? The last 2 prompts for the visioning exercises are, how is my mental and physical health doing in the next few years? For those of us who have been not in optimal spaces, either mentally or physically, tell me what you would want instead of your current situation. What would you love to be able to feel? What would you love to be able to do? What would you love to be able to experience mentally, emotionally, physically, and write that down here. This is a great compass to set for the way that you proceed with managing your health and starting to reevaluate your relationship with your well-being. The final prompt for visioning that I have here is, who am I loving spending time with? And what are we doing together for the next few years? You could be talking about a life partner. You could be talking about a best friend. You could be talking about a sibling who you've kind of like drifted apart from. It could be anybody. This is about your relationships and taking a look at, who would I love to surround myself with? And what's the meaningful stuff that I would love to experience with them? So these are the 6 prompts around visioning. Use as many of them as you feel inspired to. Not everyone is on a physical fitness journey. Not everyone is on a relationship journey. Not everyone is on a financial transformation journey. You got to listen to what's really calling you and really telling you something's ready to change. Okay, so you can use these prompts, as many or as few of them as you want. If you think of other things that this starts to get like the wheels turning, that's great, because these actually serve not just as, I'm going to ask you this specific question, please give me an answer that's only directly related to this question. It's more to serve as a series of launch pads and jumping off points, so that you start to think about your future in a container of wanting, of growth, of desire, of this would be amazing. I would feel really alive if this was my life. That's the line of thinking that we're looking to get into when we do this work. This reset week is a wonderful time to reconnect with the areas of yourself and your life that are ready to grow and ready to transform. Once we have an idea of where we ultimately want to be heading in, then we talk about goals. Okay, then we talk about getting really specific with, what are we achieving? What's the marker of that vision? So for example, in the travel example, it might be, my goal is to, by the next 5 years, have gone on a safari in Kenya and in Tanzania. Okay, so it's a definite thing that you know whether you've done it or not. There's a specific, if you want to say goal line, you know exactly what that looks like. Here's where we start to put some real parameters around, like, what are we actually talking about? Let's get really specific. How much will it cost me to do this? How much does a safari like that cost? How much do flights to Nairobi cost? Do I want to tag on maybe an awesome food tour and jet down to South Africa to go see a winery there? Here's where we start to see the details come to life. Do not worry if it starts to feel really big, if it starts to feel really impossible. Okay, because what we're doing ultimately is we're taking our big dreams, we're transforming them into specific goals, and then we're making smaller goals and smaller strategies that we can implement, so that every day we're taking one small step toward a very specific direction. Because most of us just kind of live life on repeat, and we're saying, okay, well, this is what I'm doing. I do this because my boss asked me to, or because my kids need me to do this. We get kind of like, we're not going in a very specific straight line. We're kind of going all over the place. This exercise, or this planner, helps you to really start thinking big about all the things that you want and really laser it in to a specific course of action, so that you can be managing the responsibilities that you have, you know, the job that you have, the kids and relationships that you have, any other responsibilities that are currently exist in today's life. But you're also creating a little bit of space to walk a defined, specifically directed path toward these goals. Okay, so that's basically what we're doing here. These big goals, they're called big goals because these are also not things to be accomplished or completed in the next cycle, aka 4 weeks. This happens whenever it happens. It might happen in this example, I said, within the next 5 years, I go on this awesome safari in Africa. It might happen in the next 2 years. You never know. But we want to start putting things in place to help us get the brain on board. A lot of the work that I do with my clients is around making the intangible tangible by using your own biochemistry and the way that your body naturally functions. Your brain loves specifics. It loves a plan, it loves goals, it loves a strategy. And so this is us helping the brain see, yeah, it's big and scary, but it's doable. And here's where we can get started making it more doable. So it's not because this is a requirements list of like I can only achieve my dreams if I do these goals with this, budget within this time frame. They're not like you better kind of like restrictions, but it's more as a source of support for your brain to believe that this is possible. Because if your brain doesn't believe it's possible, or if it believes that it's going to be too much and you'll never be able to do it, you will never get started because your brain is going to say, this is a waste of time. I have way other, like, more important and more pressing things to do now. We're going to put this on the shelf and we're going to leave this dream there. And it's just going to collect dust day after day, month after month, year after year. This is why most people never achieve their dreams because their brain wrote it off in the first place. Or they listened to someone else and someone else expressed disbelief. Or, oh, that's going to be so hard. Or, oh, the only way you can do that is this really one specific path. And so the brain buys that logic and they're like, well, I guess I better stop dreaming that thing because it's not going to be possible for me in the first place. This is an exercise to push back all of those restraints and all of those self-imposed or externally imposed um, um, basically like no's to I'm blanking on another. It's so funny that I like can't come up with another word for no. Restrictions so that we can make it really tangible, so that we can make real steps and get to work on going for these goals instead of sitting around dreaming of them and re digging our heels in, telling ourselves it's not possible. Okay, so all the stuff that you dreamed about in this vision section, what do you want to set goals around? What do you want to make really real? What do you want to bring to life? I encourage you to come up with 3 big goals around these things. Okay, 3 is very manageable. 3 is very familiar to how our brain thinks. We love thinking in threes. It's easy for us to remember more like things when they're in threes. So use this template and start defining. Remember, these are big goals. So it's okay if these are really long timelines. It's okay if they're really big goals. Like I want to own, I don't know, 5 different properties across the world to use as rentals. It's okay if it feels really large because what we're going to do is we're going to break it down into stuff that's more manageable. Now, if you remember when we were dreaming, talking about visioning, and I said, note down all of the fears, all of the lies, all of the deterrent thoughts that were coming in when you start to dream. If your thoughts are, that would be awesome, but whatever came after but, here's where you put it. Here's where we put it in the lies section. I also call them intrusive or unsupportive thoughts. So in this space, any thoughts that come up that are not supporting you in going for those big goals, you write them down here. You get them out of the head and onto paper so that you can look at them. When we can look at them, we can transform them. We can realize that's just a thought that came in my head. I could think I could choose another thought. I could choose something that's more supportive. Okay, so here it's described as these lies are described as intrusive, unsupportive thoughts that I occasionally believe about myself, my worth. Like, who am I to, like, I'm not some celebrity. Like, I haven't done anything amazing to do something that cool. Or my life, aka lies or head trash. So if you believe that you're not smart enough, you don't have enough money, you don't have the right connections, you haven't worked hard enough, you haven't earned it yet, you don't deserve it yet, or that would be really selfish of me if. Everything that feels that that's not supporting where you want to go with that goal, write it down here. Okay, this is head trash. This is trash. Any thoughts that come up automatically or that you can conjure up yourself that do support you working toward these goals, this is stuff that we can work to normalize to replace the head trash. So if we say, like, well, I haven't worked hard enough to earn, basically, how do I want to say this? I haven't worked hard enough or achieved enough in my career in order to leave my job and take my mom on a world trip for the next 6 months. Like, I need to pay my dues. I need to do more than that before I can even entertain doing something like that. That's the head trash, right? Because there is no guidebook, there is no ultimate, like, divine rule that says you have to have worked X amount of months or a certain level of hardness of work before you can have fun. We make that up. We all make that up, and the people around us just make that up. Okay. What we want to do instead is talk about what would I love to believe that encourages me to go for this thing that I really want, right? And so these thoughts that you come up with, we're calling them truths. This is lies, this is truths. But sometimes the truths, aka the supportive thoughts, take a lot of, like, our brains take a lot of convincing to accept them as true. And that's okay. That's why coaching exists. That's why communities of support exist. That's why mentors exist, to help you normalize these thoughts, to replace these thoughts. So it might feel really uncomfortable at first. That's okay. Because we're so used to thinking the lies, we're thinking the head trash. Those are really normal thoughts for us to come up. Normal being we're familiar with them, they come around often. Doesn't mean that they're right. They're just around a lot. So it has become normalized. The work to normalize supportive thoughts is an ongoing process that needs reinforcement, that needs encouragement, that needs external support often, and that needs a lot of proof. So this takes a while, but it's really important for us to recognize that I can choose to think supportively about my goals and the things that I want in my life, or I can choose to just kind of go on autopilot and believe that I haven't earned it. There's no way I could afford that. There's no way I could do that, blah, blah, blah. Like, I can't get enough time off of work, like whatever the trash is that comes off. That's the immediate, no, you can't do that. Here, we source and come up with thoughts that say, yeah, you could do that. You could learn how to do that. There's 1,000 ways that you could do that. You absolutely deserve to do that. This would be such an amazing experience if you could do that. You would feel incredible if you did that. That's the type of stuff that we come up with and we document here. These are very small paragraphs right here. I encourage you to use additional paper to document both of these, both the lies and the truths. Okay? Something to help you do that might be one or more of these journal prompts. There's a whole variety in here. I offer a large variety just to kind of meet you where you're at, because everyone's at a different point in their own personal evolution and growth. And some people struggle with feeling a sense of worthiness that you're kind of not allowed to have nice things or nice experiences unless you've proven your worth, that you've proven that you've earned them. Some people have a really love-hate relationship with money. Some people have a great relationship with money, but they have a really hard time letting people into their lives. So wherever you're at in your own particular path, find one of these journal prompts where when you read it, you're like, yeah, I should probably dig a little deeper into that. Okay, because this type of stuff, when we dig into it, really, we start to recognize certain things about ourselves and realize certain things, and that allows us to grow through it. It allows us to leave stuff behind that is no longer supportive of the direction we want to go, and it helps us forge new paths into areas of ways of being and ways of thinking that either we haven't even entertained before, we've never been aware that that line of thinking and being was open to us, or that it could ever apply to us. So Throughout this next cycle of 4 weeks, choose a couple of these to work with repetitively. So it's not like, okay, I'm ready to let go of slash release. I'll do one journal exercise. I'll do it tonight for a few minutes. I'll have all the revolutions, or maybe I won't. And then, okay, check that off the list. Let me find another one to do. Come back the next night and rework that prompt. See what comes up the next time you tackle it. This is not a checklist. This is a what door do I want to open again today? Okay. So when you're thinking about what is the trash that circulates in my thought system, what are the things that I believe or think or that I've heard that don't support me going for my big goals? They're counterproductive to me making progress toward those goals. And let me look deeper into that. Okay. Why do you believe what you believe in terms of those unsupportive thoughts? What's stopping you from believing the more supportive thoughts? These journal prompts can be really helpful in unlocking that and getting a little bit more in tune with the thoughts that are bopping around your head at any given moment and the choice that you have over what is bopping around in your head. The next two pages are simply an annual calendar. You can fill them in with significant dates. This is more of like a traditional planner setup. Then you have the cycle schedule that we already went over. This can actually be a great reference page because when we get into the weeks and months and days kind of format, you can refer back to this and say, okay, what quarter am I in? What cycle am I in? And it helps give yourself kind of like a time spatial awareness kind of check each week to say, oh, like I'm just kicking off cycle 1, or oh, we're reaching the end of cycle 3. Like, look at all the progress we've made. This is awesome. What are some final things that I want to do before we close out the cycle? The next checklist, this goal getters checklist, this is referring to a goal getters workshop that I did. So if you did not do the workshop, you can go ahead and disregard it. If you did attend the workshop, those videos they should still be on the YouTube channel, so you can go through them if you want to. But if you didn't go through them, like, please just disregard this page. This is a high level overview of the stuff that we learned how to do in terms of how to set really great goals. Like, what's a good goal versus an unsupportive goal? How can you tweak what you do? It's actually way more nuanced than the average person will realize. So if you have the time and the inclination, I highly encourage you to go back to those videos on my channel and walk through it's like goal setting, not just like 101. Everyone knows how to set goals. Like, that's a 101 level. This is like grad school level. So if you're looking for that mastery, that expertise in goal setting, go watch those videos. Now, the page after that, this is where we take our big goals and we break them down into cycle goals. So if you have a big goal of, let's say, going on a safari to Kenya and Tanzania within the next 5 years, and you have an idea of around about how much it would cost if you were to do it today. Obviously, prices change all the time. You have an idea of, like, here's how much flights would cost. Here are the animals I would love to see. Here are the people I'd love to go with. Here's the stuff I'd love to do while I'm there. What can we do to move the needle closer to that goal over the next 4 weeks? I'm not saying go on a safari in the next 4 weeks and check all that stuff off. I'm saying maybe we have a list of tour guides, resorts, companies that help facilitate these safaris. Maybe you've watched like 4 documentaries by the end of this cycle about the area or about a certain species of animal, or all the stuff to consider when you are planning a safari. So you can think of these as mini goals. Over the next 4-week cycle, here's the stuff I would love to be able to do and to have accomplished that is in that direction of my bigger goals. Now, here is this top bar is where you write down the actual goal. At the end of 4 weeks, here's what the progress I would love to have made in the direction of my vision of my big goals. These 2 boxes are your strategy. So there's going to be one and done actions. So actions that you take and then you don't have to take them again. So if it's the example I like to use is, oh, I'm going to call my friend Caroline because she went on a safari and I want to just chat with her. I'll take her out to coffee and chat with her about how she planned it and what she would have done differently. Once you go to coffee with Caroline, that's done. You're not going to keep going to coffee with Caroline and keep asking her the same questions. So it's a one and done action. Have coffee with Caroline to talk about her safari experience. Repeating actions are things that we do on a regular basis. So this might be, oh, I found a blog of someone who lives in Kenya and who hosts these safaris. And so the repeating action would be to read their latest blog post at the end of every week. So every Friday, I check in and I read this blog. That's something that you do on a repetitive basis. So it goes here. Both of those actions, sitting down with your hypothetical friend Caroline and checking in on a local blog every single week, they are in service of the mini goal of learning more about the process of planning a safari, which is in service of the big goal of actually going on the safari eventually. Okay, so it all rolls up, it all ties up. Now, you can have these mini goals um, dedicated, like one mini goal corresponds to one big goal, or you can have multiple mini goals that correspond to the big goals. Because these are big goals from the start in service of a really large vision, you don't have to have mini goals for every big goal. So you might have a goal to like become fluent in Spanish, to go on a safari, to buy your dream car. And right now you're just putting the dream car on hold. You want to focus your efforts over the next 4 weeks on learning Spanish and learning more about planning a safari. That's totally okay. It doesn't have to be like a one-to-one ratio. You're really more focusing on what can I do over the next 4 weeks and how can that align with the overall direction I want my life to be heading in. Okay, so we don't have to be so methodical about it. We're really just saying, how can I just grow and make footsteps toward that ultimate, like overarching version of life and version of me that I want to be stepping into. The next space in the Goal Getters Planner you're going to see is a letter to yourself. Follow these instructions. Do not skip this step. This can be really eye-opening. It can be very encouraging and very helpful and very insightful. It's self-explanatory, so I won't go into it here, but I will say, please don't skip this. Now, as we're growing over the next 4 weeks, we want to avoid the doing. We're not here to muscle it out. We're not here to just make everything happen and live your dream life overnight. No, no, thank you. We don't do that here. We don't do it that way here. So self-care is paramount. If you are burned out, you are not going to be present to experience these dreams that you want. We don't want the exhausted, burned out, struggling version of you going on that safari. We want the version of you who is loving life, who is fully healthy, who is there for it, who is mentally like, yes, this is everything I wanted to. I love life. I'm so happy with myself. Like life is awesome. We want that version of you going on the safari. Okay, so do not neglect the self-care part of this. This I roll into daily habits. These are suggestions for a morning routine and an evening routine that I can say from experience are very helpful. You can think of them as like bookends. The morning routine opens your day, the evening routine closes your day. And so, whatever goals you're working toward, the mini goals and the big goals, how you move through your days on a 24-hour basis, let's frame them in a container of support. Let's frame them in a really growth-oriented and nurturing way. Okay, these are the things that I encourage you to do. If there's something else that you want to add or replace, feel free to do so. These are calendars for you to use to kind of write out, okay, the next cycle is April 7th. So you might have, if you want a Sunday start or if you're a Monday start person like me, list the days of the week up here and then the dates for the next 4 weeks here. Helps kind of like visually see the time that's approaching. Okay, here's where we do a brain dump essentially. When you think of the next 4 weeks, and then every week I do it for the next week, all the things that you want to get done, all of the things that you want to happen, everything that you want to move the needle toward. How long is each of those things going to take? So when we're brain dumping all the stuff, like, oh, I got to call this person, or I got to make sure to pick this up, or I have to return this, how long is it approximately going to take you? And then when you write it down under the corresponding quadrant so that you can plan out your days using this as a time reference. And here's where we get into the weekly spread of what we are working toward. So these are our regular, like a weekly, this is a familiar layout for you. You put the date. So if Monday is April 7th, then you could put like 4/7 in this little box here. Monday, 4/8, 4/9. And then you write out your schedule, like 8 o'clock, go to the gym, 10 o'clock, like da da da. Very traditional format here. You'll see the letters in this month space here, Q, C, W. What that stands for is quarter, cycle, and week. So if this was for starting on this coming Monday, it would be Q2, C1, cycle 1, and it's the first week within that cycle. Okay, so you put quarter number 1, cycle within that quarter is the first cycle, and it's the first week within that cycle. Okay, and this is another space where you just write out the numbers so that you have a reference. Here I would start with 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know if you can see my 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now, what you would do next week, let's fast forward to the next week, is you wouldn't start with 14 here. You would rewrite this cycle, not the top week being this week. So you would still, even like on April 14th, the second week of the cycle, you would still write 7, 8, 9, 10. And this week, the week that we were planning for here in the planner, would begin here, 14, 15, 16. So this doesn't change from week to week. This will. So for the second week of the cycle, you say Q2, cycle 1, week 2. It's really not imperative to do this. It's just a really helpful way to kind of understand where are you in your time within these cycles. Because when we have kind of a placeholder to say where actually am I in my progress for this year, we're not just like, oh, it's May already. Like, can't believe it's May, or oh, it's randomly like it's, I don't know, June 15th. We have an understanding of what that means. What does that mean if it's June 15th? Oh, it means that we're coming to the end of our second quarter. That has a different significance and a different conversation and a different implication than just the date itself, right? So when we get into the weekly design, the weekly planning, that's why this is here. This can be super helpful as a reference point. Your priorities for the week, I highly encourage you to make them growth-oriented and or goal-oriented, like the mini goals or the big goals. Ideally, they're the mini goals because that's the stuff that you're doing in service of the big goals. We only have 3 of them for the week. Everything else, yes, it's important to pick your kids up from daycare. Yes, it's important to get the laundry done. They are not priorities for the week. They will get done. These priorities are the things to always keep as your North Star. Here's where I'm working toward. It will stave off the habit that most of us have to shelve the dream and to delay it and to say, oh, this is not a great time. So choose an action. It could be really tiny. It could be, say, about when we go back to the example of sitting down with your friend Caroline, who went on a safari last year to invite her for coffee. The priority could simply be text Caroline. So you have 7 days to send 1 text message. It doesn't necessarily have to be, write out all the questions I want to ask Caroline or actually go to coffee with Caroline yet. The priority could simply be just send her a text. Let her know what you're thinking. That's it. To accomplish this week, this might be some of the more the other things. that you have going on, like maybe go get the car serviced, make sure to sign the permission slip for your kids' field trip, things like that. The other half of this spread is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And here's what we want to keep, and here's what we want to leave behind. So for example, if we were not great on our self-care this week, we might want to leave behind self-neglect. We might want to leave behind a sense of exhaustion. Or, ooh, I snapped at my kids or I snapped at my partner. Like I'm going to leave that behind in this week. The stuff that you want to keep from this week is the stuff that makes you feel good, the stuff that you're really proud of, the stuff that you're grateful for, the stuff that you want to keep as, yeah, I want this to continue being part of my life. Like, oh, I was really good to myself this week. I went the extra mile to like give myself a foot massage today, to allow myself to watch, whatever junk I like to watch on Netflix, without judgment. A sense of importance, a sense of significance, and that my dreams are worth going for. These boxes could be filled with anything, but essentially it's a conscious decision of what do we want to keep as part of who we are and what our life is filled with, and this opportunity to say, I'm working on leaving that behind. From the weekly spread, I give you options to go into a daily spread or a daily page. If you're not a daily person, feel free. I mean, you could use as much or as little of this planner as you want to. I love a daily page. The daily habits, this could be your morning routine and evening routine. It could be something else that you do on a daily basis that you want to remember to do. The magic makers, this is the stuff when you think, what can I do today? That's a tiny step forward in the direction of my mini goals or my big goals or my dreams. Those are what I mean when I say magic makers. So it could be, text to Caroline. It doesn't have to be this huge, momentous, like giant action to take. It's just an action that moves you forward in a powerful way, that moves you forward as evidence that you're taking your dreams seriously. 3 of those each day. They don't have to be huge. They just have to be directed. Growth focus. Anytime we're going for our dreams, anytime we're going for our goals, it's not about getting the stuff done. It's about growing into the version of us who is doing those things. So the person who maybe has never done a whole lot of travel, but she has this big dream of going on a safari, her growth focus might be getting familiar with being in new communities or in new circumstances or unfamiliar spaces, right? So you could focus on putting yourself in traditionally uncomfortable situations so that you get comfortable feeling uncomfortable. You get comfortable feeling a sense of unfamiliarity. The schedule here, this is the time block, like, oh, at 11 o'clock I do this, at 1 o'clock I do this. This is the itinerary of the day. These are all the things you would like to do today. If you don't get them all done, that's totally fine. We'll migrate them into Tuesday or to another day. And just like the reflection of what am I keeping from this week and what am I leaving behind from this week, what am I keeping from today? What am I releasing and leaving from behind from today? What's the stuff I'm proud of today? And what are the best parts about today? So this bottom part of the page is a reflection piece. We have the same format for every single day. Saturday and Sunday are combined because this is the way I do it. Feel free to print out another page if you want to have a separate Saturday and a separate Sunday. And then we reflect at the end of the week. What was your favorite part of this week? What did you do well this week? It doesn't have to be anything enormous. It could be like, I made a killer pasta dish. It was awesome. Or I was really good to myself this week. I forgave myself and I wasn't beating myself up this week. What are you leaving behind and what do you want to improve or do differently next week? This gives us permission to show up next week and try again. We always get to try again, and this process helps remind us that that's allowed. And then we go into the next week, we do the brain dump and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's essentially how you could best use the goal getter planner, I encourage you to start with the vision and start with the journal prompts. Um, get into those big goals if you're ready to define what those goals are. I'm going to be doing this with you because, as you might see from behind me, those of you who work with me recognize this is not the same background that I usually have on our coaching calls or in other videos. It's because since the last time I produced a video, and now I started a second business. It is a maker and craft and blog business. And there's a lot of learning to be done for me. And there's a lot, there's a lot of dreams around this that I get to bring to light. So it's my time to use this reset week to set my own goals and get really clear on what am I doing and how do I want to spend the next 4 weeks of this cycle? What do I want to accomplish? Where do I want to focus my energies? My team resources, time, energy, attention, and money. How do I want to focus those resources? So I'll be doing this behind the scenes with you. If you have any questions at all, of course, just drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to them. And then you can also reach out to me through email or on social media. Okay, have fun dreaming. Use this planner in a way that is supportive and fun and inspirational instead of don't let it be something that you have to do. Like, you got to get this done. It's another thing on the to-do list. This is the thing to shape the to-do list. Okay, so that we're moving together over the next 4 weeks in a very intentional and on purpose way where we're crafting a compass and we're using that compass to navigate the next 4 weeks with. Okay, have fun with this. We'll see you later.